Hey, it's 4 o'clock in Los Angeles. It's 6 o'clock in Chicago and 7 p.m. and live from Philadelphia. Hello, everybody. I'm Mad Dog DeCipio. This is the Tuesday edition of What's the Buzz, America's Popcast. Tonight, how streaming killed conventional television. And to walk through this minefield of merriment, my partner in crime, the movie maker himself, Mr. Mikey Messier. How are you, Mikey?
I'm doing really good, Angelo. It's great to be back, and we had a great show last night. We'll have a great show tonight, and this topic is very close to my heart as a actor, as a filmmaker, and as an enthusiast of other people's work, so I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mikey, we're going to get right into that, and I'm going to let you start this off, too. But I have to say, for the record, and to tell everybody, Mikey Messier is my good luck charm. We had damn near 27,000 people watch our live stream last night. And today we got our 1,000th subscriber. So now we can monetize this mother humper.
That's awesome.
I just got to figure out how to do it.
Well, I think that's
so, Mikey, why don't we do this? I'm going to let you start this off. This is a subject close to my heart as well. You know, you and I grew up in a certain time when television actually went off the air at a certain time at night.
Right.
And now the polar opposite is the case. It never goes off. There's always something going on. Talk to me about this subject matter. Your thoughts on conventional TV versus streaming, how streaming has impacted you and us and the film business.
Okay. The concept of paying for television goes way back, I believe it or not, Angelo, I think in the 1940s or the mid 1950s, there was a boxing match on television. This is on Wikipedia. It can be found pretty easily. If you just go into the birth of pay-per-view television, there was a boxing match that aired on television, and the stations asked people on the honor system, if you watch this fight, send us money in the mail. It was purely pay-per-view on the honor system, if you can believe that.
Is that crazy?
and that's going, but the crazy thing on not only the design of it, but also this was like the 40s or 50s. I've looked into it because I was curious. We're talking about streaming, not pay-per-view, but I think it's an important side note to put the pay-per-view stuff in there because you have things like the Muhammad Ali, Antonio Inoki mixed martial arts fight that was, I believe, in 1976.
Mm-hmm.
My dad used to go to the Providence Civic Center along with thousands of others across the world to watch Muhammad Ali versus Joe Frazier in closed circuit TV. So you had things like closed circuit television. In the 1980s, the WWF was a pioneer along with Don King and Mike Tyson fights and Sugar Ray Leonard versus Marvelous Marvin Hagler and Hagler versus Hearns, pay-per-view boxing. So the model was there for people to pay for television or to pay for what we now call streaming.
Yeah.
And the streaming came along. I did some research on this, and stuff like Napster, the music, sharing service that was eventually banned, but kind of reemerged as Spotify and stuff like that in different businesses. But the video games also were a big part of this because younger people got into the habit of sitting at home and doing something I've never done, which is watch other people play video games at home. Like that was their form of social activity. So these different elements were happening just not even that long ago, 10 or 12 years ago. And then the big boys came in, the Netflixes, which had, you would remember, Angelo, and a lot of our listeners, when people would send in for discs and Netflix would send you a disc to your house and you'd have to return it. And sometimes they'd come all scratched up or whatever because so many people watch these things. But Netflix eventually, they had the advantage over Blockbuster. Blockbuster apparently had a streaming service even before Netflix, But Blockbuster was competing with itself because they still had the old school brick and mortar stores where people actually had to go in and talk to your friendly video store madman, the guy
Yeah.
who's renting you these VHS or DVDs. So Blockbuster was kind of handcuffed by its own self, really. And Netflix took the ball and ran with it. And I would say by 2010, 2012, Netflix was very prominent in a lot of people's homes. You had things come along. A lot of these videos I watched for research, Angelo, didn't give any credit to the WWE, but I will. I mean, their WWE network was when they took a marquee yearly annual event like WrestleMania, and they put it for the first time on a streaming service. So
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important too, Mike. You're going in an area that's critical when talking about the really the boom of streaming. WWE was absolutely at the forefront. Netflix, I think, set the standard. They set the bar pretty high, as a matter of fact. And I think the only in earnest to the WWF/WWE, and you and I are both wrestling people. I think we have to say, Vince McMahon got on the subscription market pretty early on, and at least for its time, made a substantial impact in streaming wrestling for 24 hours a day. Now we have full networks dedicated to 24-hour a day, 7-day a week wrestling. Mikey, you talked about Napster, talked about closed circuit boxing and wrestling. By the way, that pay-per-view, that honor system fight back in the 40s, I believe that may have been Max Baer, and I believe it may have been Max Baer and oh God, who was the other guy? It may have been Max Baer, and I think the guy they called Cinderella Man.
from the movie.
Yeah.
Jack.
Oh, whatever his name was. I know it's an Irish fella. Jim somebody. I forget his name. Sorry, fella. But yeah, it was the honor system. People sent $1, $2, whatever they could afford. It was,
James J. Braddock.
That's it.
Braddock.
James J. Braddock. Thank you. I was going to have a brain fart there, Mikey.
No problem.
But in earnest, do you know what the very first closed circuit event was? Because I did some research today. Yeah.
Well, that's a great question. I will guess Inoki Ali in '76, but I have a feeling it's probably way earlier than that.
1974, Evel Knievel.
Okay, with the Grand Canyon.
Believe it or not, was the second one. The first one, they actually charged people to watch Evel Knievel jump the fountains at Caesar's Palace.
Okay.
In Las Vegas.
That's great.
Yeah. The Netflix model, people should know that today Netflix is the single largest streaming platform on planet Earth. It's sad, but because you say something important, Blockbuster kind of busted their own groove, really, if you want to call a spade a spade. Blockbuster wasn't prepared, and I'm going to get your opinion on this, because Vince Russo, somebody that we both know, Vince Russo owned a couple of Blockbuster video stores.
Right.
And that's how he sold them and became a wrestling writer. I don't think, in my opinion, this is just and I have no proof of this, but I don't think Blockbuster, Mikey, was prepared for the growth that the video market underwent. I think that they were too late, a dime, a day late, a dollar short. I think they jumped on the home video market just a tad too late. Whereas, Netflix and other, even Redbox started out as a pay-per-view service,
Right.
where they would send you a video, you send it back, and please rewind, be kind, please rewind, the whole video thing. This was, and folks, you got to remember something. This is before DVDs. Yes, we used to have videotapes. Mikey, it's a scary thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're giving our age away, Mikey.
That's okay. I think with Blockbuster, like I said, they were handcuffed by themselves because they had the brick and mortar store with franchise owners.
Yeah.
And so if the franchise owner, he's losing 20, 30, 40, 50% of his customers coming to his actual store because they're using the Blockbuster send me a DVD in the mail choice instead of going to his shop to pick up a DVD. Then Blockbuster was competing with itself and basically putting itself out of business. You know what I mean? So
I understand very well what you mean. We have casinos here that are making money with, online gambling. Well, why provide online gambling when you have a casino? You're shutting your doors while your online business is thriving. You're kind of like cutting your own throat despite your face,
Yeah. And with something like that, there's going to be a certain amount of dedicated casino goers who want to hear the music. They want to see the bells and whistles of the machines. There might be live entertainment at the casino. There might be a boxing match at the casino, something that draws them in, or just a night on the town, as opposed to just staying at home and pushing the buttons on their phone like some of us do, namely me. So
I hear you. You ain't alone, brother. You're not alone.
I've gotten a little caught up in the online gambling this year, but I've about broken even, so I feel good about that.
I hear you. Well, let me tell everybody what we're talking about here. How streaming killed TV. We spoke a little bit last night. Mikey and I went a little into it. And I asked the question, is it dead or is it on life support? Mikey so aptly put, I believe it's on life support. And there's some convincing evidence to support that, Mikey, that television right now, I should say, when we talk about TV, conventional television, I think for all intents and purposes, is a thing of the past. So now we have to consider cable as the new conventional TV. Well, cable went through quite a boom there for a while, putting up cable, from coast to coast, from pillar to post. The problem is there was this other thing happening in Europe called streaming. And we have to tell everybody that's where it started. It started in Europe. The Europeans were way ahead of the curve on the TV front, Mikey.
I believe it.
Yeah. And that's where we got the idea here for, hey, they can do that there. Well, hell, why let's try it. Why not? So here's what I want to tell people. The death of TV. People are cutting the cord, using streaming services more often and finding much more variety through services like Netflix, Hulu, Peacock, HBO Max. Tonight, we'll explore how conventional TV may die off as a result of this new TV choice. But just when we thought we were getting ready to put shovel to ground and bury television, there's this new little contraption there, Mikey. We got that's our movie screen. That's our television. That's our computer. That's our bookkeeper. That's our banking. It's all of this in one little neat little package.
Right.
How do you believe, Mikey, we're going to survive the technological revolution? Because we're still going through it, Mike. How are we going to survive the technological revolution and keep things traditional, like going to a movie theater, sitting down with your family and watching TV? I can't remember, and I'll give myself as an example. I can't remember the last time my family actually sat down together and actually watched something that we all agreed on,
Right.
because there's so much choices out there. My
I think
wife will watch her phone. I'll watch the TV. My daughter goes in her room and watches Roku. So, and we've got, and maybe this is an affront on me, and I'm sorry, folks, but yes, I'm a glutton for punishment. I have all the streaming services. I've got Peacock, Hulu, Roku, Netflix, Tubi TV, HBO Max, Stars. Then you name it, I
right.
got them all. A YouTube TV. I have that. I have that too. So, but here's the question, though. The people, even now, we talk about cable being the new conventional TV. People no longer even need cable, even for the so-called must-have content. You can get that on your phone. You can cast it to your television.
Right.
Talk to me. You're in the television and film business. You make movies. That's what you do. You make them and you act in them and you promote them, and you're the movie guy. You're Mikey the Movie Maker Messier. So you've got to have, I think you have to have a dog in this fight somewhere, Mikey.
Yeah. Well, I still go to them. Let's put a lot out there. Let's start with the movie theaters. People have been saying for a long time, oh, movies are dead. They just make sequels, blah, blah, blah. Well, Angelo, this past weekend was the 4th of July weekend. Happy anniversary, everybody, 250. And I went to the movie theater, and I have the AMC subscription plan, which basically means I get 4 movies a week for the price of about $26 a month. So it comes out to about $2 a movie if I maximize the plan. And this is in the theater. This is not at home. So I look, there's a movie called Young Washington, which is, I believe, by Angel Studios, which is the Christian studio that's done a lot of things like
I know it well.
The Sound of Freedom and stuff like that. And so I'm looking to see the movie Young Washington. It's about young George Washington, and a lot of the screenings were close to sold out, to the point where I had to pick a screening that had a better seat available for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm a guy that likes to sit on a certain side of the theater, etc. But when I got to the theater, Angelo, you talk about, families. There were, in the theater that I was in, there was clearly a lot of families who made this their July 3rd Friday night event, was to go see this movie about George Washington on the 250th anniversary weekend of our country. And so my answer to the first aspect is, what about the movies? As long as there's mega things like Marvel comic movies coming out, DC comic movies, Star Wars movies, those big box office attractions, and then things like Obsession, which is an independent horror film that's been getting a lot of traction. It's just hit a nerve with a certain horror audience. If a movie is made that's good and people want to see it, even if it's not good and people want to see it. Sometimes people go just to hate watch these movies, right?
Oh yeah.
But people will come. I'm telling you, I don't think it's dead. I think that the thinking that if anything was going to kill the cinema experience per se, it would have been the pandemic. And it didn't. It didn't. The theatrical movies experience survived. Like I said, people have been complaining for years there's no good movies. I go to the movies all the time. There are good movies. My expression is, they're good movies, there's not good audiences, but I think
that's interesting. That's really interesting. How do you parlay that, Mikey, into there's no good audiences for TV? There's no good audiences for stream. How do you parlay that? because it can't. I don't think it's exclusive to movies. I think there's plenty of blame to go around. In other words, is what I'm telling you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it depends on how you see things. I mean, I think that there's a lot of people, that they catch on to a show and they'll binge watch it and they'll tell people. And I think it's fine. I think things adapt and things change. And 10 years ago, if you and I were talking about what's the show, it's a reality parody show of the Korean people and the Shark Games. Is it Shark Games or
Oh
something
God,
like that?
yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
I think I'm getting the name wrong, but the audience can tell us what I'm getting wrong here. But basically,
Yeah.
people are watching that show, and word of mouth spreads, and then more people watch that show. And there are things from international countries we're seeing in the last several years. The Oscars often go to a foreign film, a non-English speaking film. And
Mike, is that the show called Squid? Something
yeah,
like
that's
that?
it. Thank you. Yeah, Squid
Yeah.
Game. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, my daughter watches.
Yeah. So I mean, my point is,
Yeah.
if you were going to say that a show, I don't want to get it wrong, but it's either Korea or Japan had a show called Squid Game
Yes.
15 or 20 years ago. Do you think you or I would know about it or would watch it? No.
Not a chance.
But
Not
now
a chance.
it's super common. So I think there is a divide there, that the home viewer there's a lot of people that like to stay home now more so than before. People
Yeah.
used to like to go out in the 70s and 80s. You'd go to the Regal Beagle and you'd look for a pretty girl. These days people just stay home more often. But
Mikey, I have a question for you about that. We're talking about something you just said triggered a question about related to the pandemic and writing and film production and television production during the pandemic. The film business, the television business, all but stopped, except for certain pockets around the world that weren't affected dramatically by the pandemic. So independent filmmaking still thrived during the pandemic, although the releases weren't as plentiful as they normally would have been. Here's the question I have. How much did that give birth to what we now refer to as, and I hate this term, Mikey, so forgive me, reality-based television? Let's just call a spade a spade. There's nothing reality-based about it, but when you have no writers, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
fill me in.
There was there was also a writer's strike during the pandemic. There was also an actor's strike during the pandemic.
That's it. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Right. But as far as reality TV goes, I would say reality TV really got going. I mean, there was a PBS show in the 80s called American Family, I believe, but then in the 90s, I mean, I think it was 1991 or 92 that The Real World on MTV started. Then they had a spinoff called Road Rules.
God. Yeah. I forgot about that.
And then a lot of things like even if you count something like American Idol as a reality TV, it's kind of a competition show, but there's a reality TV aspect to it where real live Americans get their shot at success. And there was so many shows. I'd say the 2000s was when reality TV took over, but there's still scripted things, Angela. I mean, as even like the sitcom, the American sitcom, Family Ties, the Cosby Show, the Brady Bunch, those used to be the staple. Those used to be the go-to water cooler shows that people would talk about. There's still a few sitcoms out there. There's you know what I mean? Like I say, it's things adapt and things flow in popularity. Daytime.
I have to admit something to you, Mikey. I have to admit something to you, and the world's going to hear this.
Sure.
I was, forgive me, folks, but I'm coming out of the closet now. I was a binge watcher of Survivor, and my favorite show, I'm guilty. This is my guilty pleasure, Big Brother with Julie Chen.
Okay.
I loved Big Brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
I loved Big Brother. Oh, that was my show.
And these are shows these are shows that for a decade or more were I mean, I think Big Brother's still going on. Didn't they just have a 25th anniversary show?
I believe so. Mikey, I want you to take a look at this. Well, let's watch this film together. Let's see. Where are we at? Hold on. Where's my movie? There it is. Hot damn.
A sudden event but a gradual erosion driven by the irresistible allure of streaming services. Consumers, tired of expensive bundles filled with channels they never watched, found liberation in on-demand content, accessible anytime, anywhere, and often at a fraction of the cost. Streaming platforms offered unparalleled choice and personalization, allowing viewers to curate their own entertainment experience, free from rigid schedules and endless commercial breaks. This shift fundamentally altered viewing habits, making the traditional linear model of cable feel outdated and inconvenient, ultimately leading millions to cut the cord in favor of a more flexible, affordable, and tailored digital future.
Suddenly there were dozens of channels instead of 3. Networks like HBO, CNN, and MTV carved out specific audiences. But even cable operated within the traditional framework. Programming schedules still ruled everything. Advertisers still paid for access to eyeballs at specific times. The fundamental power structure remained intact. Networks controlled distribution, and viewers had no real choice but to comply with whatever schedule the network imposed. Then came Netflix. And nothing was ever the same again. Netflix launched its DVD by mail service in 1998, which was clever but not revolutionary. The true disruption came in 2007 when Netflix introduced streaming video on demand. For $8 a month, subscribers could watch licensed television content whenever they wanted. No commercials. No schedules. No waiting.
Streaming has killed TV. This is a sentiment you'll often hear from people when discussing the current state of television. YouTube alone is littered with videos that cover this very topic, and almost all of them are negative. Many people making this claim will have you believe that, prior to the rise of streaming, television was utterly perfect. The shows were flawless pieces of art, and the productions themselves were practically utopian, which completely contrasts all the mass-produced, soulless content we're getting today. Yet, the biggest flaw in this argument is that it completely fails to acknowledge all the incredible stories we've gotten as a direct result of this shift in the industry. We've been blessed with some fantastic streaming shows in recent years, many of which never would have seen the light of day had it not been for the rise of streaming. We've also had tons of talented writers, directors, and actors burst onto the scene, bringing their unique creative visions to life. Not to mention all the existing talent that has migrated to these various platforms. Sure, there might be an absurd amount of content being produced today for streaming services, and not all of it is great, but this format has opened the door for some fantastic stories to be told. You cannot honestly tell me that this has any less of a soul than this. I am a surgeon! The streaming business model is not perfect by any means, but it's also far too easy for people to focus exclusively on the negatives. Why not shine a light on some of the positives as well? Click below to watch the full video and see why I don't think streaming has killed TV.
I think that's
okay. So that's a different kind of take on it. People need to understand something. The cable used to survive largely because it had exclusive access to like sports, news, popular programming. But once people realized that they had choices, and once streaming services offered those choices in abundance, generations that used to sit around the TV, Mikey, and watch like families and stuff like that, they realized that, hey, well, I don't have to sit here and watch something that I don't want to watch. I can go, I can pick up my portable entertainment device,
right,
and watch my own stuff. Once people experience that kind of freedom, conventional TV felt outdated. Now, here's one of the things I want to talk about. It's a generational thing, largely, I think, or it could have been. Younger generations don't build habits around watching TV. Biggest threat is cultural. Generation Z and younger millennials don't turn on the TV and see what's on, quote unquote. They search, they click, they watch, they record, and watch later. Let's talk about. I'm going to stop right there, Mikey. They
Sure.
record and watch later. How much of the on-demand model do you think is responsible for people? I don't want to say forgetting to watch, but let's be honest about it. I've recorded shows and completely forgot that I recorded them and watched them like a month later.
Right.
And again, given the fact that there's basically, and you might be able to tell me better, but I don't think that there's a Nielsen, quote unquote, Nielsen service anymore. You know what I mean? Like the rating system, the Nielsen ratings. That was a big thing. You used to, if you were a Nielsen household, you wielded power. They used to actually pay you to watch TV.
Yeah,
I know because they used to send me $5 every month.
Right. I got that once where you'd fill out with like the pencil and the form what you're watching.
Yes, sir. Yep.
I think it's something like this is the only thing that's safe as far as programming from the record zip through the commercials routine is sports. You know, the only thing and live, you know, live sports entertainment, not to bring it back to wrestling all the time, but
Yeah.
today I discovered because a very attractive young blonde girl had a video that had the headline Sami Zayn loses WWE title after 9 days. What do you think?
Yeah.
But what she was really promoting was her tightly fitting top, you know, with her
Sure, of course.
with her bosoms. And so the point is that actually was a catalyst, though, Angelo, for me to go ahead and find Netflix and find Raw, which I have recording every week. And I said, okay, I guess I'm going to watch it because I want to see what happened, you know, because otherwise,
and you want to find that tight fitting sweater again.
Right. So I mean, you know, my thought is that I was always a big recorder through the VHS days. I actually had, you might have had one of these, a DVD recorder, which was actually like a VCR, but with a DVD-R as the blank.
I have one not 6 feet from me right now.
Hold on to it
in my studio.
I hope it still works too, because
it
those
works.
things are valuable.
I have a VCR.
Yeah.
I have a VCR player recorder. I have a DVD recorder, and I have a DVD player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one thing about the video, and I guess I'll do a little self promotion here.
Please
one of
do, absolutely.
One of my books, A Distance from Avalon, that you've read, Angelo. You know, I've had this script. I've written it as a stage play. I've written it as a novel. I wrote it as a film script. It's a gothic horror story, A Distance from Avalon. I met a guy about a year ago who suggested that I change it from a film script to a series script, meaning an 8-part, 1-hour thing. And I took about 5 months, but I basically adapted a 90-page script into 277 pages. And now we have plans to film it as a series and take our chances with the streaming platforms. So for me, a lot of that video, that 2 or 3 minute video you showed us from YouTube, rang true to home because I'm a Hollywood outsider. You know, I was not born into a family of Barrymores or Baldwins or whoever, or, you know, so for me to have the opportunity from Jacksonville, Florida, where I live now, I used to live in Rhode Island, to collaborate with some good people and make a series and take our shot at getting on streaming, that could be life-changing for me. That could be career-changing for me. So
absolutely,
the fact that there's all these channels opening up, and even my dad used to say that, you know, the more channels, he was talking about cable back when, but all these channels are on 24 hours a day. All the streaming services are on 24 hours a day. For the producer, for the independent producer, for the network producer, for the corporate producer, there's always an opportunity to get your stuff out there. Whereas 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, if you weren't born into the elite, or if you didn't fight and claw your way into that elite, forget about it, as they would say. So in a sense, the floodgates have opened. There's always going to, it seems, Angelo, as much as we talk about, there used to be thing, called the dominant culture or the meta culture. When you talk about pop culture, where everybody
Sure.
kind of saw the same 10 movies a year, and everybody bought Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA, and Tina
Oh
Turner,
God,
Private
yeah,
Dancer, right?
yeah.
There used to be the meta culture, which in the 80s and 90s, that's why we hold on to those memories so strongly. Like everybody saw Saturday Night Fever in the movie theater. Everybody
It's
saw Grease.
interesting you say that because I watched an interview today with Bo Derek.
Okay.
Okay, she was the 10 girl, right?
I know. Yeah.
And see, we're really giving away our age, folks. But it seems like America latches on to that one girl like every 5 to 10 years. That Pam Anderson, she was the girl flavor of the month.
Cameron Diaz.
Carmen Electra was flavor of the month.
Right.
Bo Derek was flavor of the month.
Suzanne Summers.
Jennifer Aniston.
Right.
But the point I'm trying to make is I'm following suit with you that people, monkey see, monkey do. We follow each other in packs.
Right.
We follow each other, our habits to the movies. My wife and I go to the movies once a month. With the last film we saw was the Michael Jackson film.
Okay.
And speaking of a related subject, we will have a Michael Jackson confidant on the show. Mikey, you'll be part of that show.
All
Her
right.
name is Pearl Jr. Pearl was a friend of Michael. She is a friend of the Jackson family. She is a deep inside the family individual and is breaking her silence now. I will not go into too much here, but Pearl is going to come here and drop a couple of bombs on us.
I bet she will. Great.
Yep, she sure the hell will, brother. She sure will. So, Mikey, the question I ask, it's on the screen. The future of cable and conventional TV is in the balance. How will it land?
I think if anything gets sacrificed, it would be the middleman of the cable TV providers. I think they've already been sacrificed. I think WWE, Vince McMahon griped for years about splitting the pay-per-view profits 50-50 with the cable companies.
I got a question for you, Mikey, right there, and it's perfect right where you're at. How does that affect television or subscription rate distribution? How does how does the subscription model, for lack of a better term, how does the subscription Netflix / WWE network model affect the distribution of these programs? Are they channeled through a clearinghouse or are they all in-house?
That's a great question. I think it goes case by case basis. There's some programming, for instance, what we're trying to do with The Distance from Avalon, we would independently make that on our own and then sell the distribution or do a back end deal with some type of
right. Or you shop it like a showrunner.
Right. But then you have things like Netflix, where House of Cards apparently was like the biggest thing for House of Cards going back 2013 for Netflix.
Oh, sure.
That's like the distributor making their own content, right? So every example is going to be a little bit different. But I think the middleman, cable TV, the cable companies, like when I grew up as a kid, it was Media General Cable. And one of my best friend's father ran the pay-per-view division of that area. So they had a nice house and we got to watch all the pay-per-views for free because my friend's dad was running the show, right?
There you go.
he would get to go on all these wonderful trips, and in the 80s and 90s he was a high roller because pay-per-view and the local cable company, especially in Fairfax, Virginia, where I grew up, which was right the suburbs of Washington DC with hundreds and thousands of people, was that was big time stuff. But that big time stuff, the middleman of the local cable market, is getting eliminated because A&E can go streaming direct to the people through Hulu, or HBO can go streaming directly. If you have internet, you have access. If you want to pay the $20 or the $15.99 a month, you have access to this content. Now, I think one thing that's interesting, Angelo, is to separate cable TV from over-the-air traditional TV. The biggest thing going right now throughout the world is the World Cup. And here in the United States of soccer, you can watch it on for TV for free on Fox.
Yeah.
Over the air.
Yep,
and,
sure can.
And like I was saying last night, I would just watch the NHL finals and the NBA finals every other night. We're on ABC, and that's over the air. And with my $30 HD TV antenna, that's how I've been watching those shows. So,
I have a question for you, because you again, I'm going to circle this back to pro wrestling.
Sure.
The World Cup and pro wrestling, they both have something in common right now. You can watch the first hour to an hour and a half of a premium live event of WWE programming on ESPN for free. But yet people are paying, and I'm not making a word of this up, ladies and gentlemen, people are paying upwards of $10,000 to $15,000 for these events. The World Cup right now, and I watched it today, there was a big brouhaha at a press conference because one of the people involved in this television distribution literally, Mikey, took a pile of money. You know what I'm talking about? Did you see it?
I didn't see it
He
yet.
took a pile of money. He had probably $50,000 or $60,000 and literally threw it up in the air at the press conference. He said, "This is worthless. You're giving this away free. I paid for my tickets. This is how much I paid." And he just threw. I mean, I'm not making a word of this up. He had a stack of money, American money,
Right.
and threw it in the air and just like all over the press room.
Well,
It was, and then, but here's my point though that I'm making.
sure.
Shouldn't there be something like that? Shouldn't there be the old? The people won't understand what I'm talking about. I'm going to give my age away here. I'll be 60 years old on Friday. Okay.
Happy birthday.
So thank you. I'll be 67 on Friday. People used to have this thing called the blackout market. In other words, you remember the blackouts?
It still exists a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, they would black out, for example, a football game
Right.
in a certain area from being blacked out from television, so you had to go to the stadium to see it. Okay?
Right.
If it was a sellout game, they would show it on TV because the stadium was full.
Yeah.
Okay. Last year at WrestleMania, I think 42, maybe it was right.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. WrestleMania 42. It was touch and go as to whether they were going to sell out that stadium because the ticket prices were so high.
Right.
They ended up at the last minute making some kind of change to the card, and it got people into the stadium. Therefore, they were able to show much more free content. Okay, I get that. But for all intents and purposes, Mikey, financially, aren't you cutting your nose off to spite your face by doing that, marketing your ticket prices so high, but yet showing it free on commercial television?
Yeah, and that speaks to a lot of things, Angelo. You have the prestige attendee. For what I'm saying is, like, even when Donald Trump would go to the WWF WrestleManias, part of that was just to show off, hey, I'm Donald Trump and I'm in the front row and I run this thing. Here's my hot Marla Maples and yada yada. And a lot of times, like, boxing matches used to be the epitome of this, when you would see celebrities in the stands at boxing fights. And didn't Frank Sinatra do the ring announcing or the commentary for one of the Ali Frazier fights, the third one or something like that?
Yes, he did.
So my point is, I think a lot of times when people buy tickets to go see a WrestleMania for an exaggerated price, they'll complain about it, they'll bitch about it, but they'll still buy the ticket. A lot of it is because they want to feel like they're part of the show. And for the wiser, more experienced wrestling fan like you and me, we've been to the best wrestling. We saw Flair versus Nikita Koloff for an hour. We're not as easily entertained anymore because we've already done that, and for a lot less price. So I don't hold it against the fan. The fan who's throwing the money in the air, I mean, he seems a little naive. Doesn't he know that for how many years have people overpaid for tickets to the Super Bowl, when you would have a better view, right? And you'd have better food, your own private bathroom, your better view of the game at home with your nice TV and the commentary and everything. You go to the stadium, it might be cold, it might be hot, there might be a line for the bathroom, you may miss a big play, who knows what's going to happen. Someone might step on your foot, someone might pour soda down your back, and you might not have a great time. But for a lot of people, and I think this is a good thing, Angelo, I think it's good that people still want to be involved. I think it's good that people still want to come out and go to the movie theater to see a movie they could watch at home in 3 months, or they still want to go and pay the paid prices to see live music when they can listen to a CD at home. I think that's a good thing. I think that shows that our humanity hasn't fully been extinguished yet, even if we're a bunch of marks.
I wrote something that I'll tell you what, I'm going to address that in a second here too. I wrote some thoughts down, and I want to share with you. TV channels may not collapse. They may end up folding into content brands. That was the thought I had. Instead of networks being channels, they'll become content studios for all intents and purposes. For example, HBO is no longer mainly HBO Channel 501. It's a streaming brand. It's now branded as HBO Max. Then there's HBO Signature. HBO, etc. There's like 4 or 5 different HBOs. And the same with Stars and Encore. Okay, each brand is subsectioned into its own brand. Here you go, a perfect example. The WWE brand is broken down into the NXT brand, Raw brand, and SmackDown brand. Perfect example. Sports and live events, I believe, are the last major lifeline of conventional television / cable. Live sports is one of the only reasons cable still survives. But if sports fully shifts to an exclusive streaming model, then cable loses its final stronghold. At that point, cable becomes pointless for all intents and purposes to most households.
Right.
My thoughts on this. What TV dying would realistically look like? It probably won't disappear overnight. More likely, here's what it looks like. Cable becomes something only older people keep. Live TV becomes mostly sports and news, which it pretty much is already, almost exclusively sports and news. Traditional channels shrink or, more likely, Mikey, merge with other channels. We've already seen it happen. Perfect example. Cinemax is now part of the Stars channel lineup. Cinemax, Stars, Encore. 3 of them merged to this super PAC.
Right.
Okay. I have Hulu. Hulu comes with Disney Plus, Hulu, ABC Prime, let's see what else, and one other. In other words, you're getting you're not just getting one channel. I have I have 6 paid channels,
Right.
but what I get is almost 40 television channels, premium television channels, not to mention all the free stuff that I get from Hulu, from Tubi TV, from Roku, from all these other tributaries, I'll call that, tributaries of the big, the big streaming platforms,
Sure.
Netflix, HBO, Hulu, Peacock, and they're all owned, by the way, by the big 3 networks, ABC, NBC, CBS.
Right.
They are still, people don't understand this too, Mikey. People don't get that these 3 networks are essentially the owners of everything you're watching.
Right.
ABC, CBS, NBC. It's always been that way, and it's probably always going to be that way.
Yeah.
So your thoughts on what I laid out here?
Well, you said a lot, and I don't really argue with much of anything you said. I mean, I think there's always going to be room for the breakthrough sitcom. Like there will be maybe within a year or two some sitcom that's very old school with a comedian playing the disgruntled dad with the house full of kids that are driving him nuts, and the wife who's the busybody, and the wife's running the show. That, you see what I'm saying? Like, everything old is new again. There will be, I mean, there's a niche for everything. I mean, once again, Angelo, maybe 30, 40 years ago, who would think that To Catch a Predator would be so entertaining and such a runaway hit? It started on Dateline, right? But if you were to say, when you were a kid, hey, Angelo, there's going to be a show where real life dirty old men get exposed for going after kids, and this guy in a suit is going to come out of the living room and tell a guy you're going to jail, you would think that's the craziest thing you ever heard in your life. But it's compelling television. That is a reality television show. It shows the worst of humanity in many ways, but people watch it. And I'm the show that I keep getting.
I call it the car accident effect.
Yeah,
and you slow down for a car accident. Like, why? Because we're morbid fucks. That's what we are.
Well, and I'm not taking a stand one way or another, but when President Trump ran in 2016, a friend of mine, when everybody was saying he was going to get slaughtered and lose and embarrass himself, a friend of mine said, Mike, that guy's going to win. And I said, why? He said, because people love to watch the train wreck. You know, and they want to see what the hell's going to happen. And unless you vote for it to happen, it won't happen. But in any event, there's also twice. I think one thing that's a turnoff potentially for some people, Angelo, is the feeling that you have to be of a certain economic class to enjoy television now. And there are things like Hoopla. I think I told you about it. Hoopla is an app that my book is on audio book on Hoopla. You can listen to Fighter Play Basketball for free on Hoopla. And there's one called Kanopy, Kanopy, that's strictly movies and TV shows, and that's free as long as you have a library card, which is free to get a library card. You can get Kanopy and Hoopla for free. Yeah,
we actually have it upstairs. Mikey, I want to do this real quick. We one of the things that we do around here is we are very proactive. With people who need help, we are offering help if you need it. I got some phone numbers for you guys, so check this out. And after this this public service announcement, I will tell you how you can reach out. If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction or alcohol dependency, help is available. Recovery is possible, and you do not have to face this alone.
If you're tired of fighting shadows in the middle of the night, if you're carrying a burden that's become too much to fight, if the bottle or the needle feels like all that's left
When the Hawks need a clean shave, they reach for the Chairman Pro by Manscaped, equipped with skin-safe technology and dual blade heads.
Wonder if my dad's ever had one of these.
Tony Hawk with a mustache. A very different commercial. We ride motorcycles now. Hawk Hogs. Shaken and stirred. Talon.
Injured? So are we.
No.
The Chairman Pro by Manscaped.
They have been with us for 7 years, celebrating 7 years with Manscaped. Thank you, Kyle Miller. Thank you, Mike Messier, for Kyle Miller.
Yeah, I was
the guy you started all this crap, brother.
I got our balls clean.
There you go. Absolutely.
In the world
Absolutely. I want to tell everybody, if you are interested and if you need help, if you know someone who needs help, call 988. Text or call 988. That is the National Suicide Prevention and Help Center. Anything that you need, 988 is the gateway to all the other numbers. So don't feel like you have to go through this alone. You have help. We are here to help you. And we are at the end of the show. Mikey, promote away. What do you got coming up?
Well, Fight or Play Basketball, Every Shot Counts is my book. That's I think it's a great book. Angelo's enjoyed it, and it's available on Hoopla. You can listen to it on Hoopla. You can listen to it on Audible, and it's called Fight or Play Basketball, Every Shot Counts by Mike, Messier, Mike Messier. And Instagram, I'm on there as Mike Messier Art, and TikTok, I'm on there as Mike Messier Art. And this past week, Angelo, you know that I was involved in a film with a gentleman named Danny Roebuck, who actually had me and the other people from the film at his home the other night. His wife made a lovely dinner, a chicken dinner. I believe her name was Tammy. And they're big Disney fans. And Danny was in The River's Edge. He was in Agent Toby Barks, great actor. He played Jay Leno in the Late Shift movie, if you remember that one, Angelo.
I remember. I actually have it. Yeah, he's hugely entertaining in that role, by the way.
yeah.
Hugely so I'm entertaining. Mikey, our former co-host here, Cal Yater, did a film with Danny called, and I want to promote it for him. It's called Once Upon a Time in Macon.
Right.
So Danny Roebuck is in that film. A little plug for him.
Yeah.
I'd love to have him on the show.
I'll reach out. Yeah, I'll reach out because he's a nice guy, and I should mention it was Joe Black. This guy's name is actually Joe Black. That's his shoot name, Joe Black, and Cat Black. His wife's name is Cat Black, and Joe Black. They're good people, and they're the ones that made this movie, along with their producer's name is Jeff Miller, I believe, and Danny was really a gracious host, and hopefully this movie Gator Babes will be out in a year or so, and everybody can enjoy it.
Excellent. And we have signed a deal with Tubi TV for 2027. We will be on Tubi.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's crazy, brother. I tell you what, and it's funny how it happened. So they were watching one of the vice presidents of programming was going through YouTube and saw our show and sat there. He goes, "It's an interesting show." He calls me up and says, "You're an interesting character, Mr. Mad Dog." Call me Angelo. And then we started talking. I mentioned a couple of things. I said, "You know who Stephen Plim is?" He says, "No, I don't know that name at all." I said, "If I say to you, Tiny Tim tiptoe through the tulips, do you know who I'm talking about?" Oh yeah, sure. Tiny Tim's manager was Stephen Plim. He's a friend of mine. I said to this fellow, Tony, I said, "Tony, Stephen Plim says that I'm the Johnny Carson of podcasting. Now, what do you think about that?" And he started, it broke the ice, and we had a great conversation. He goes, "I want to see what I can do for you."
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's funny though. I've gotten offers from like Discovery, A&E, and they like what you do, and they want you to sign on the dotted line. Then they proceed to change everything about you, and it doesn't become your show anymore.
Right.
And that's not what I wanted for this show.
Right.
I want to maintain. I want to maintain the integrity of what I do. This is for me. It's a talk show. It's a podcast meets Merv Griffin.
Sure.
You know, Mike Douglas, Johnny Carson. The name put
Tom
insert
Snyder.
name here. Yeah, you know.
I those
Yeah. Go ahead.
Uh,
Mikey, yeah.
well, just talking about how things adapt and change. I was going to say earlier, like daytime talk shows were the big rage in the '90s, like Sally
God, yeah.
Raphael and Ricky Lake and Montel Williams, all these people that had shows that don't have shows. And you just mentioned the late night guys, the Dick Cavett and the Tom Snyder, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean. And so it's just
I
interesting.
used to talk to Tom Snyder once a week, brother.
He was great, and he
was
had
the
a
best. You know who
Yeah.
I got coming on the show? You're gonna love this. Here's a blast from the past. His name is Mason Reese. You know who I'm talking about?
sounds like a wrestler to me.
I'll show you Mason. Let me pull Mason's picture up here for you.
Okay,
Mason Reese.
is it the wrestler turned actor? Is that who it is?
No, child actor.
Okay,
Here you
I'm
go.
thinking of somebody else.
Yeah, I'll show you Mason Reese. Here we go.
All right, let's
Perfect.
see, folks. For the
All right.
people listening at home, I'll try to do the description of Mason as I see him.
Right? Mason Reese, right here. Okay, let me pull him up.
All right,
Yeah.
folks, we're just waiting for the photo.
Okay, this is Mason Reese was a child actor.
Okay,
You saw him on Love Boat. Oh God, any number of shows back in the day. Here's Mason.
okay,
He was a child actor. He was the Oscar Mayer kid.
Mayer. He loves
That's
to eat
him.
every day, and that's what he'll say
Yep.
because LUNCH begins with Oscar Mayer. I remember the song. Yeah.
Yep, that's the kid.
Oh, good for him. Good for him. He looks good.
That's Mason Reese. He was a pretty regular guest on the Mike Douglas show.
Yeah.
Big fan of Harry Chapin. He used to cry every time Harry Chapin sang "Cats in the Cradle."
Oh yeah, it's doing.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, folks. We have a lot coming up on the show. Among them, actor James Woods will be here. We are trying to acquire the services of actor Kevin Spacey. We are in contact with Kevin Spacey's people, and we're trying to get. We have confirmed actor James Woods will be here.
Great.
We have
Fellow Rhode
also
Islander.
Yep, we will have also confirmed that Pearl Jr., family friend and close confidant of Michael Jackson, will be here. Also, actress Michael Learned from the Waltons will be here. Dean Butler from Little House on the Prairie will be here. Neil Aspen, the author of Titanic, the Kindred Spirits, a Titanic love story. An interesting take on a love story, Mikey, because it involves a gay romance on the Titanic.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a fascinating story too. That's just some of the stuff we have coming up, and of course, a bunch of wrestling stuff that we're gonna do, just cause we can.
Well, could I mention that it's the 30th anniversary of the NWO tonight,
Absolutely,
Angela?
of course.
So I was been wearing the NWO shirt in tribute. Of course, I've had the pleasure of working with Kevin Nash in a movie called The Manor, and Scott Hall and Hulk Hogan. But those were the original three. But they built it up from there to half of the WCW roster was NWO at one point. But the original three, were
pretty
really
much everybody in WCW was NWO red or black or
right.
or white. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Everybody had there was NWO overkill for
Yeah.
a little while. It was anyway, for sure.
It did.
Oh man, Mikey, the good old days of wrestling.
Yep.
Folks, we are at the end of this one. It is 8:00 straight up on the button for Mikey Messi. I am the Mad Dog, like Papa DeCipio always says. Tomorrow's promised to no one, so make today count. Be good to somebody, folks. We will see you later. God bless you, folks, and take care.